All right, so welcome to another video. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and check out 7 tips for new bloggers. Tips that I kind of wish when I first started that I knew, and some insight. Maybe somebody shake me a little bit and say, "Hey, these are some things you really should know and kind of be aware of before you start kind of blogging or getting into the space." So we're going to go ahead and check some of these things out. I'm going to go through a couple of different slides, and then I'll chat back and forth with you on some examples as well. So let's get started with tip number 1, and that is jump in and get started quickly. If you start sooner, the crock pot of your blog business can start cooking right away. This means that your blog will be more evolved the sooner it is out there. I find way too many people go ahead and it just take too long to go ahead and start their blog. So for example, like for me, I always go ahead and just get something up and going, even if your website's not doing great or fantastic, or if there's a lot of work and repair to be done, just get something going and make it visible. Because now that it's visible up here, you have search engines like Google and Microsoft and all these other things like Pinterest and social media can start to become and discover you. Even though you might not get a ton of hits or traffic, but at least you're out there. The robots are there. You could start building like your email list. So you'll be able to create the pop-ups and just slowly work on that business side of things. Yes, it does take time. Yes, it does take time to evolve and develop and get it all functioning properly. But at least you get things going. So jump in, get started, make it quick as possible. One of the quicker ways to doing this is to go ahead and, if you don't have a blog already, use a service kind of like Pork Bun to go ahead and grab your domain name. They are my sponsors and they love the channel. So definitely check them out if you're interested in registering a .com or domain. They have a ton of great reviews as well. So great privacy. You can hide your own address and everything right there, and very simple and easy to use. So definitely check them out. Okay, let's hop on over to tip number 2, and that is treat your blog like a business. If you're kind of wishy-washy, it's not going to evolve and you won't be profitable. If you want to just write, then you can just write in your notebook. You don't really need an online presence to be able to just do some writing. You could just write in a notebook, write in a Microsoft Word document. Why do you need to go ahead and start a blog? You don't. So if you want to just write, just write. But if you're serious about your blog and you want to turn it into a business and you want to evolve it and you want more people to read it, then in that case, you got to treat it more like a business. Otherwise, there's going to be too many expenses that you need to go through to really make it viable and to make it work. You can check some of the stuff that I have and just some of the expenses behind it. Just go to the resources page right here, and you can see, there's a ton of different things that you'll need to pay for. Like, for example, like the domain name. You'll need to pay for some hosting. You'll need to get maybe a newsletter list. There's going to be some business growth things that you might need to pay for, like QuickBooks or live chat and some equipment and, your computer stuff and checkouts and hiring people and social media tools. So there's quite a bit of things out there that you might need to do to make things viable and to make it progress. So you definitely need to make sure that you treat your blog like a business. If you don't, eventually that business will die out. It'll get costly and expensive for you if you're paying it out of your pocket. Like I said, if you want to just write, then just go ahead and write. You don't need to have a blog to make it happen. All right, let's take a look at number 3 here, and that is stop striving for perfection. A blog is never perfect. It's an organism that's constantly evolving and growing. And if you strive for perfection, your progress will be slow. So create and then evolve. So even here, as I'm doing this video, one of my teammates probably messed something up because this part right here should be higher near the top, and it's not there. The same thing here if we go to the blog section. And we start looking at things, there's a missing thumbnail right here. So with time, we will pick things up and get them on there and get them working properly. But not everything's going to be perfect. There's going to be things that, maybe you want to evolve and add some content here. Maybe there's a link not working there. So you're constantly evolving. If your content also, let's say you want to go ahead and write something. If your content is, let's say there's some content in there that's written and maybe it doesn't have the perfect grammar. Well, fix it on the next round, the next round. Maybe you want to take some screenshots from your video posts and start evolving the content a little bit more from video, including screenshots, including the written word, converting it into a podcast, start layering those things one step at a time. It's not going to be perfect the first time, every time. And if you're always trying to get a perfect blog every single time, it's going to be very difficult. And I'll tell you, because not every content piece is actually worth as much. So if you go ahead and just take a look at one of my recent YouTube channels, by the way, on my stock trading and investing area, what you'll be able to see here is if we go into the YouTube studio, and I just launched this just a month or two ago, what you'll see is certain content pieces just here on YouTube. You can see this, for example, has about 115 views, whereas this one was 8, and I published it all in the same day. This one has 42 and this one has 38. So out of these content pieces, which one do you think is worth more? This one. So in general, you know, if you're trying to make it perfect, if I was trying to make this content piece perfect, okay, I'm kind of wasting my time. Instead, look, this one's getting traction. I'm better off to focus on that one and kind of tweak that content piece rather than over focusing on, you know, perfection for every single one. Yes, I know you might get some people that are like, hey, this is wrong or that's wrong, but you just can't do it on an online business. Not everything's going to be perfect. You're trying to just constantly evolve the business and make it work. All right, tip number 4, marketing is equally important. So spend more time on marketing than you think. Although content is king, you have to make sure that your content is discovered. So there is this content trap that people get into. They're just constantly like writing content. And you could go ahead and look at content creation. And I have a ton of content. When you look at just the blog that I have on backstageincome.com, there's a ton of content out there. And I've got loads of it because it's very quick for me to create videos. I go ahead and make the videos, and then some of the people I work with, they go ahead and convert them into articles and posts and podcasts and so on. So they do a lot of the heavy lifting. So for me to make this video, you know, it takes 10 minutes here and there. But then they do a lot of the heavy lifting. But you have to still get people to that content. Now, whether you use a social media platform like YouTube, Facebook, it still takes time to evolve that and get it functioning and working. It may be like a 1-year slope before you really get some serious traction in that area or in that industry. So remember to focus in on the marketing. It's just as important to get that going as it is to working on your content. All right, let's go to tip number 5. Okay, tip number 5 is collect contact information. You know, when you get your blog up and running right away, immediately, you should try and grab contact information. Now, whether you do it because of a checkout, like let's say somebody buys your course, and here's kind of like one of our courses that we have is the Pin Designer course, how to design Pinterest pins. Or you go ahead and have a pop-up for maybe a freebie, a goodie, that kind of thing. Collecting contact information is very important, because now what I can do is if I have this list of email addresses or a way to reach out to people, when I have a new content piece, what I could do is send it off to all those people, and maybe one person out of, let's say, 4 buys it, or one person out of 50 buys my next product, or it could be 1 out of 100. But whatever the case is, you've got this huge list of people, and now they're able to purchase it. So if I didn't have that information, those people would have to come back to my website to see that announcement. And not everybody's going to come back to my website every single week. So instead, it's better if I have their information, go ahead and send them something saying, hey, we've got this new thing that just came out. I think it'd be a great fit for you. Check it out. So if it makes sense, send it to them. If it doesn't, then obviously you wouldn't send it to them. But you can't do that if you don't have the contact information. So make sure you have the contact information. And one of the easiest ways is to do it through a pop-up. You could also do it through a live chat, you know, collect information that way and put it into your mailing list. Obviously, social media like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, that's a good way to kind of have information and reach out to people. But they have to check that. Email is kind of the best. If you can get a phone number, you know, address, that's even more deeper, right? Think about it. If you know somebody's address, you have a really deep connection with them. So the deeper the information that you can get, the better off you'll be. Okay, let's take a look at tip number 6, and that is have a product or service offering. Creating content is nice, but your blog won't stay alive without resources. So this is either your time, money, energy, or kind of both. So definitely you gotta have a product, whether that's a digital product, a service, something. Now, what you'll see here is I do a couple different things. I do coaching, I've got some books, I've got some courses, and this is just one part of my business. So I've got stuff related to trading and finance. I've got stuff right here to this business, I've got other stuff as well. When you look at other services that my team does and creates for other people as well. So we've got different divisions for our business, and that is just different products and services and offerings. If you look at the Backstage income side and you look at just the course load that we have, we've got Pin Designer that was recently launched this year. We've got Planning a Blog Business, Marketing a Blog Business, Video Marketing Blueprint. So we've got a lot of different courses here that you could go ahead and basically purchase out, and some new ones also coming in there. So there's definitely a lot of things that you could buy, and I'm always thinking of evolving these things in the future. And if you look at kind of my core website and business on the Traders Fly and Rise to Learn network, if you look at all the courses that I have there, this is just on the trading side and investing, which is actually the bigger part of my business. There's tons of material here. I mean, this stuff that I have going on in here is huge, right? I just constantly, every month or two, are outputting a new product. So there's a lot of information there and educational content that we're constantly evolving. So if you don't have a product or service, you're just have a lot of free content. That's okay and nice as a goodwill gesture, but at the end of the day, you need money to be able to fuel your business. And if you don't have the financial capabilities, your business will slowly run out of money, or you'll run out of time, because with the extra money, you could hire off people. So you need to have some kind of product or service offering to just be able to pay for the expenses of running an online company, business, or website. So definitely think about that. Otherwise, some people just get into it thinking, hey, I'll just go ahead and have blog postings, and that's what I'm going to do. And that's not a bad starting point, but you will eventually need some kind of funding. So think about that in the long run. Okay, and let me get to number 7, and that is diversified traffic sources. Bringing in traffic from a single source can make it easy if you can dominate a certain space. But if it ever goes down, you get kicked off, or the algorithm changes, it can kill your business. And for example, a lot of the traffic that we get, it kind of starts out with YouTube. So here's kind of like one of the YouTube channels that I have. And, we get some traffic from here. We also get a lot of traffic also from search engines, but having traffic from different sources, like let's say you've got stuff coming in from Pinterest, and then Facebook, and then your email list, and then you've got YouTube. So if they're all coming into your website right here, that's what you really want to do. What a lot of people do is they kind of focus on this one thing, and then that one thing, like let's say on the YouTube front, that one thing on YouTube, then it gets hacked, or somebody takes you down, or whatever. There's a big issue, and now you've got no traffic coming in, and that's a big problem and bummer. Actually, for me, we are so heavy on YouTube. That's why we have a couple of YouTube channels as well to kind of diversify that risk. But always think about like diversifying your traffic mediums and sources, because if anything happens, you've got a serious problem on your hands with that. So make sure you're splitting up where your traffic and audience is coming from. And the longer you do this, with time, you just keep adding another traffic source and another traffic source, and so on and so forth. So anyways, I hope this gives you some good insight to kind of these 7 big tips on really growing and building a blog business, kind of some of the things that I wish I knew when I first started. You probably have heard some of these before, but just wanted to reemphasize some of these things, maybe from a different perspective or a different viewpoint. Just hearing it from somebody else may open up your mind a little bit more and say, hey, that makes sense. Or using a different example. So in either case, keep these in the back of your head when you're building out your business or planning things out, and then definitely make sure you put them back in the foreground or in the forefront of your head, so that way you can actually implement them and get them going. So otherwise, if they're just kind of sitting and you're not taking action, it's not going to really do any benefit or service for you. So I hope you enjoyed these. Thank you so much for joining me. Check out the Backstage Income website. There's a ton of other great material. Look at the Backstage Income YouTube channel. Subscribe if you're brand new, and check out some of the great freebies we have as well on our website. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you next time.